this is Rob, and today in Turbo Talks we're talking to Harry Tanfield of Team Qhubeka NextHash about training through the winter. Alright, welcome back to the Turbo Talks podcast. It is the 9th of November and the cycling road season is over. And with each day, the days are getting shorter, darker, colder and more wet in the Northern Hemisphere. But as we say at Garmin, you simply never stop cycling. So now more than ever is the perfect time to jump on your Tacx trainer and keep fit. Or in the case of our guest for today, to prepare and make gains to be even better for the next season. So it's time to hear all about his winter training secrets and welcome him onto the show. It's the rider who lit up the Great Britain National Championships 3 weeks ago, Harry Tanfield of Team Qhubeka NextHash. Welcome, Harry. How are you going?
Hi. Thanks. Yeah. Enjoying my time at home at the moment. It's been pretty nice.
So what's the off-season activities? A bit of rest after that hectic end to the season?
Yeah, it was full gas for the end of the season, right through to the end of October, and I've had some time off the bike afterwards. And in fact, I went to the World Championships, the track World Championships, to watch my brother. We went as a family, so that was quite nice. He was racing over there, so we went to France and we watched the race for the week, and then came back and just been having some downtime at home and kind of sorting a few things out at home. So it's been good.
Still touching the bike then, or you're just leaving it for what it is?
I gave it a good clean after nationals. It was dirty and it took a while to clean up, so I put it back in to keep the bike nice and in good condition. But yeah, I'm back riding again. Just not formally training, just riding and doing some nice cafe rides and really enjoying the weather at the moment. At the moment, it's actually like 11, 12 degrees and not raining. So I guess I'm making the most of that right now. And maybe in a week's time or so, it's going to be pretty rainy and normal weather for England, I think.
Yeah, I was about to say 11, 12 degrees. It sounds like a win at the moment in November in Britain, probably.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So what was the sort of like the feeling that you entered that off season with? How did you finish like 2021? What's the feeling that you had over the season?
The season as a whole didn't really go that well, to be honest. But I guess that I really focused on the last part of the year when I was able to be consistent and I wasn't crashing and didn't have any injuries, and I just had a really good training block, and race block through August, which led to some nice races in September and through to October. So for me, it was really good to finish on a high as such in those races. Had some nice podiums in Belgium and the podium in the Criterium in England in the championships. So it was close in the road race, but it wasn't to be. So, but no, it was really nice to finish on a high, I think.
People might not see those results in those Kermesse races on Pro Cycling Stats, but can you give us a sort of like an insight how hard those races are?
Yeah, it's just I do love that kind of racing, and I haven't done it for a long time. It's just full gas from start to finish, really. And obviously it depends who's doing the races. It was quite nice racing with Ollie and Lawrence from when I was in Agile Desert the other year. So every race has got a good mix of riders, and it's just flat out from the start normally, and the groups kind of whittle down, and then in the final hour you can start launching some attacks and really racing it out. Then I think that's when the races, won and lost in that moment in the last hour when everyone's on their knees, and you can start to try and do some damage. But I really enjoy it. And the weather was pretty terrible pretty much all through Belgium in those races I was doing. So I think if you actually want to be there to race as well, then you're also winning before you've even started, because I think a lot of guys, with it being the end of the year, can be a bit demotivated and when the weather's bad. So it was good. It was good preparations for the nationals because that was cold and wet as well. So.
And maybe already a bit of a prep for races that could be on in the spring again as well, if you would make it over to Belgium for those races as well.
Yeah, I love a good race in Holland. Actually, I love the Dutch. I rode a lot of the Holland Cup before, and I love a good Dutch race. I think last year there was a few that we were planned to do, but I think quite a few were cancelled in the start of the year. So hopefully next year those ones will be back on the program.
Yeah. So obviously you're on a podcast and you're gonna tell us, like you said in the intro, a bit some winter training secrets of yours, all connected to all the products basically from Garmin that you're using. I already said to you before we started this, I was like you're almost like the ideal Garmin rider with everything that you used, like the Garmin Connect, the Tacx Neo, obviously the 830, and you've also made use of your wearable of your watch in the
Yeah,
off season. I've heard.
yeah. It's the first time that I've got a watch from a team as well as such. Normally we just have a head unit, so I've used it just as a wearable for sleep tracking, which I used to do previously with a Fitbit thing. So it's a nice upgrade from that. But no, I've been swimming actually once or twice a week through the last kind of 4 weeks. And I've never used a device in the pool before, so it's tracking my swimming, and I can see all my activities in Garmin Connect, which I use normally after my road rides anyway. It's just a nice platform to view everything on. So I've always used it for quite a while, so it's been nice.
So are you one of those riders who's like really digging into it immediately after it's uploaded, checking all the stats? So what is the things that you are looking out for most?
Not really, no, not in this time of the year. When I'm training and maybe pressing the lap button here and there, then
Yeah,
then obviously I'll look into that a little bit when I come back after rides after lunch, and then just make a few little comments in my file and the training pics. But for the moment, right now, it's I'm really not. I'm just kind of just riding, and with the Garmin, it just auto uploads. So I come through the door, it's already on everywhere. So I just have lunch, and then sometimes I forget to name my ride on Strava or something. Sometimes I name my ride on Strava, and that's about it really for the off season. Really just enjoying the time and making the most of the weather. So
yeah. And during the season?
during the season, maybe I'm looking at the data a bit more. There's a bit more to see if you're just out riding your bike just for a steady ride. There's not really a lot to see, and I try and switch off as well and just enjoy the scenery. But I've been using the 830 quite a bit for the mapping, which has been nice. To have like a touchscreen map I found it quite useful when I've been making routes, and particularly if I go off a route, especially when I've been in Belgium when I was still training between the Kermesses, and I wanted to do some tours of the cobble climbs and stuff around there. So if I went wrong, and I can pick points to like navigate to, which is quite handy. So it's got me out of a few situations where I've been lost as well. So it's been quite
That's what I
nice.
say. Apparently, it is really easy to get lost in between all those little roads and
Yeah,
all
in Belgium,
between
yeah,
all the little burgs.
there's so many roads. It's crazy, and they all look the same. No, so it's really handy for that.
And so, like during the season after a race, what is it that you then look for in the data?
Sometimes if it's sprint finish in the Kermesses as such, my power like leading into the sprint, what I've done, kind of obviously what I've done in the sprint and what I've done in the lead up to it as well in the few minutes before that. And I found that in quite a lot of them, they were all very much the same, quite similar. So I think that it's good to know what you're doing in the races when you're coming into a sprint like that. Then you can try and replicate in training as well, which is nice to be able to review that from what you're actually recording from the race. I mean, in the races, I don't look at the Garmin really that much. If I don't know the route, then I put the map on. But because it's a Kermesse, normally if it's 12 laps, then it's okay. Sometimes it can be a bit of a shock for the first lap, and then you think, oh, okay, yeah, I should be at the front of this point here and there. But no, it's normally just looking at the timer really, just to see how long we've raced for, because I just know that every Kermesse is between 3.5 hours and 3 hours 45, so I kind of know where I'm at for the race, and eating and drinking and stuff.
And then like maybe during like a World Tour race, like you've done the UAE Tour, part of a sprint train with Nizzolo, would you then go into that tour already have certain targets or number that you want to hit in terms of in that lead out of that power output? And do you then afterwards maybe look at it, or how does that go?
Not so much the power output, but really looking at the speed as such. I mean, it's the speed that wins the bike races anyway. So controlling that, especially if you're in the lead out and you're controlling the line. And again, you're riding with a lot. A lot of it is against the other trains as well. So in a lead out role, you are racing those other people, and if you can be efficient and conserve when you can conserve, then obviously you can go a bit longer. And it's all about just trying to go as long as possible. So it's good to obviously watch the speed and make sure you're not pushing on too much in certain times. And I say in the UAE, I had the GPX files, but we were just really on motorways a lot of the time. So actually the GPX files were not really needed over there, but especially in Belgium for the races, Wallonie Tour and some of the other Belgian races, the GPX files I almost can't live without when I'm racing now, because I'm so used to just looking at the map when I don't know the road or whatever. It's a point-to-point race, and if you're going down a descent as well, things like that, I know by looking at the map if I need to brake basically before I enter a corner, kind of thing, which I've kind of learnt to do, which is quite nice.
And you just then like easily swipe between screens to
Not
get to
really.
the map?
No. I have the map on the whole time, and I just have time and distance at the bottom of the screen, so I know where I'm at in the race, and also I know on my map where I am. So I can swipe if I want to go across to the like another data page to see some power or whatever. But normally in the races, I'm trying to just got speed and time, or speed and distance on, and that's it, kind of thing.
Is that different for your teammates? Do you know how they use it? Do they have like different screens on there as well, or?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys have like a second screen set up, so they'll have like a main map page, and then like a one with power and speed and time and all that. But I tend to not have heart rate on the screen. I don't really want to know what it is most of the time. So I keep that off. But yeah, I mean, if it's not a stressful race, then it's quite easy just to flick between when you're not doing anything. But if it's raining and it's coming towards the end of the race and it's technical, and you're in Holland and Belgium, so there's loads of road furniture, or Wallonie, and there's no roads because the roads are rough. But you've got to be careful, keeping your eyes on the road the whole time, and not the screen. But I typically, if I can, just leave it on the map page, because I know that if I've got a turn coming up, I'm going to get a little arrow or something, popping up 100 meters before, that I know what's kind of cool. Because if you're in a peloton, sometimes you can't see. I mean, I'm lucky I can look above and normally and see what's ahead, but it's also just quite nice to have the little files so I know roughly what's coming up.
So handy for the navigation, and also a bit of a safety aspect there then as well. To know what's coming up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm also for the descents, but the things that we can program into the GPX file before the race, such as feed zones and climbs and things like that. There's a lot of information that can be put on it, and it can just flash up on the screen at the bottom when you enter a climb. Okay, 3K 5%, 3K 8%, or feed zone in 3 kilometers or something. It's quite nice.
Just to know how long you got to hold on for to make it over.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's 3K. It's 7%. All right, okay, cool. Let's get to the point.
and now it's winter. You slowly. When do you start training again? Like in a program?
Probably around the end of November. I might start doing. I mean, I've been doing gym for the last 10 days. So I started riding. Obviously, riding during the week, and doing swimming once a week, the odd bit of jogging as well here and there, gym twice a week, but the riding's just riding. It's not anything, there's nothing in the plan, it's not structured, it's just a bit of general riding.
And at the moment that it starts kicking off again, your training program, is there a dedicated time and place for your indoor workouts?
Yeah, normally Normally, normally in the morning, I quite like to do just if I'm doing my easy ride, especially if it's cold and wet in winter. Then I just, well, I mean, not even just wet, but to go out for an hour easy ride, it's a lot easier just to jump on the trainer. So, yeah, especially in the winter when it is cold. I mean, when it's 14 degrees and it's nice like this, I've actually just been going swimming instead of riding my bike for an easy ride. But there'll become a point later in in the end of November and into December where I'll be on the bike doing like a fasted ride or something like that once a
Yeah.
week. And the trainer comes in really handy for that. It's nice and controlled and it's just quick and easy. You've got the bike on there and you can just hop on and off. So, and I think, I mean, last winter I used it quite a lot between Christmas and New Year when I was starting to put a bit of intensity in. So I would do a morning ride, then in the evening just go on the trainer for an hour, especially with the dark nights now as well over the winter. Just to get his with workout in. My coach would build me a workout, and then I would just hop on, which is quite
Yeah.
nice.
And what's the benefit? Do you see any benefits of it in terms of on your program when you can do the sort of like those dedicated sessions, whether it's like you mentioned, like an easy fast ride, or more the specific maybe training blocks that you can do in a controlled
Yeah,
environment?
obviously, yeah, it's controlled, and it's consistent, which is nice. You know the powers that you need to hit, and it's you get used to riding the Neo as well because it had a Flux before, and then I got a Neo after, and I'm like, wow, it just feels nicer to ride a little bit as well. It just feels a little bit more like the road. I mean, I get used to both of them after a while, but I just feel the Neo. I get a good feeling like it's on the road because you can rock a little bit on it. And also when it is cold in the winter time, like now, and if I'm planning to go to Spain as well in December for a little bit, just for a small camp. But when it is really cold and I struggle to do hard, intense efforts with the cold wind, and sometimes your hands can be numb, and if your legs are cold and wet, you're almost like just trying to survive on the bike outside rather than. And I think it takes from the quality of the training, if that's the case. So in those situations, then I would 100% be doing my workout, on the Neo when it's not bad weather, but just generally winter. But I'm fortunate that I've spent a lot of time in January and February in Spain. I've managed to rough it out from here, but then I've also taken my trainer with me. So it came in handy in Sierra Nevada when I was in altitude earlier in the year, just to do those easy rides on, because when you're on a mountain, it's nice to be on the trainer and you can set the resistance and quick and easy again. You can just hop on and off. So yeah, I'll be taking it to Spain with me for sure.
And is there a specific benefit in this training stimulus that you see out of those sessions? The harder, maybe the harder blocks or interval sessions that you're doing on the trainer compared to on the
Yeah,
road?
yeah, it's just more focused. There's less junk, and you almost like you just know you're going to do the session, so you just jump on it. It's programmed, it's done, and you just follow and just crack on. Whereas on the road, you can have a lot more punches in winter when it's cold and wet normally, and trying to make routes up as you're going along, and then it gets dark, and then you can't feel your hands, so like you're halfway through a set of efforts, but you can't feel your hands, so you have to start, trying to find more gloves and stuff like that, and yeah, it's just more controllable, and I think that your body you can put more energy into riding the bike, and you'll get a better response from that than what you would do by suffering out on the road in those situations.
And do you have a bit of a good setup at home? A bit of a pain
Um,
cave built, or
Not really, no, not particularly. It's
it
I mean,
needs some work?
I've got my turbo, and I've got my mat there, and I've got a decent fan as well, which it's quite small. It's not massive, but it does the job. But I'm lucky that I'm in like a garden room, so in the winter time it's always freezing anyway. So I just if I need to open a window, then I do. But especially if I'm training around like going to Spain and things like that, I don't particularly have it that cold anyway. It's good to sweat a bit, I think, in the winter to
Yeah.
mix it up.
And a favorite session?
I
Is
was
there one that that your trainer created for you, like maybe last
no,
winter that you thought, oh, that's a banger?
um, sounds weird, but I was doing one like last winter when I was here for a little bit just to get some intensity in on top of the volume. I was just doing, I think it was just 30-second, literally just 30-second max efforts. Where I start at the saddle and then just go all in for 30 seconds. I can't remember how long the recovery period was. I think it was maybe 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes or something like that. And you do like 1 or 2 and you're like, oh, this is pretty hard. And then when you get like after about 6, it was just like, oh, this 2 minutes is just going super, super fast. But I think I did the session a couple of times. And after the second and third time I'd done the session, it definitely got a lot easier. So yeah, I think there's in those situations when you've not been really whacking it super hard in winter time, it's good just to do some hard efforts like that. Yeah, I do enjoy doing the velodrome as well. Riding the track if it's open and available, which it hasn't been with COVID, but it's a bit of a trek to the nearest one. That's the only problem.
Yes, but I said you mentioned like it's just 30 seconds full on effort, but 30 seconds is a really long time to go all out.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. You get 20 seconds in, and then it feels like an eternity. But they definitely get better with time. Doing more of them. But it's obviously a weak point if it does hurt that much as well. So.
Has there also been like a set then on your program that you think like, oh, this one looks really daunting to me, like this is going to be
not so much in December. No, I've kind of kept my limits, like not, I've not pushed it too much, do you know what I mean, in that time. I think I've realized before with other seasons and things that especially when COVID happened and stuff, it was a little bit too intense in that December, January period. And I think it's good to throw like some good workouts in here and there, but I think to be like really, really on it from the middle of December is a little bit early. I think when January comes, it's a bit different. But yeah, I think it's more of a relaxed approach. I think it's good as well.
So how would it look like in terms of like maybe training blocks leading up to the start of the season from when you start in November? What does your training look like maybe in December, and how does it look like in January, February, etc.?
Ramping up intensity, volume slightly decreasing. I'm doing quite a lot in the gym right now, so like 2 sessions a week in there, with squats and leg press and things like that, just to get my legs back broken into a bit of gym work, which I've missed from the end of the year. So when I do start training on the bike, I'll be doing a bit of low cadence work, trying to like transfer that strength developed from the gym work into riding. And to be quite honest, I'll probably just do that all the way through to the start, certainly into like the middle of December. And then I've not spoken to my coach about December onwards. I'm definitely going to go in for a lab test probably some point in December, either before or when I come back from Spain. So it's been a while, and it's good to have a little MOT, I think, before the real training starts, being set for January. I think it's really important to get a lab test done, or a field
test. What's being tested then?
Basically do a ramp test and a step test, all with gas analysis, just to establish where the zones are. And I've done the same test with the same bike and equipment, for quite a few different years. So it's a good like benchmark to see where we're at, kind of thing. And what needs to be improved basically coming into the season. Let the physiologist go over all that.
Still seeing progress each year?
Yeah. I mean, the true max numbers haven't particularly gone up that much. They've gone up a little bit, but nothing really at all that much. But more the fatigue resistance and ability to repeat efforts and efforts of a higher percentage of maximum as well. After 2,000 or 3,000 kilojoules as such. Those kind of efforts, which I guess it's more resilience to fatigue, which I think it just comes with age, and also riding in a strong race program as well.
And when it comes to January, so we're getting closer to the start of the season, what has changed in your program, in your approach to training?
a bit more intensity. Quite well, yeah, quite a bit more intensity. Still doing some steady miles and but backing off the volume a little bit and really working on high aerobic high aerobic stuff like VO2 efforts and compound VO2 work is what I've done previously in the past. Um, which I did. I was doing phases of that and then some phases of anaerobic stuff as well later towards February time. But yeah, again, we'll see what the test flags up, should we say, in December time. See where I'm at. I don't feel like I've lost. I don't feel like I've lost much kind of aerobic fitness. I've had some time off, but also I've kind of been busy for the last 10 days, and I just enjoyed doing a bit of swimming and getting into a little bit of running. So yeah, I think it's been quite good.
And when do you then plan to take that next step from January? When do you plan to be sort of like race ready? Or when do you feel like you're race ready?
After I've done some races, unfortunately, as much as I as much as I know that I've got a race coming, for whatever reason, I can just never be in my best shape. It takes time. I've realised that, and I work with that. So the earlier that I start racing, then the earlier I can be in shape.
All
So
right.
it really depends on the race program as well. But if I just turn up to Ron Van Drenthe in February, I know that I'm not going to be at my best, and that's a fact. So, but if I can be at 95%, then that's better than at 85%. So yeah, I think that it's a long season, and there's races that are more important to me as well. And when I discuss the race program with the team, then then I'll know a bit further. But I think that obviously just getting your foot in the door early with, like, I don't know, the Saudi tour and those early races that are in Holland and then Belgium. It's always good to get in there and just go and get one or two done just as a starting point, and
Yeah.
then go from there. They say there's nothing better for doing races than actually doing some races in preparation, which I found a lot this year with missing so much through injury. There's only so much I could train, and with races being cancelled that I was meant to do, and going so long without racing in certain periods, that I was doing the training that I could do, and it just wasn't. It's just nothing like doing flat out races. So for me, I really prefer to schedule plenty of races, and even just training races if
Yeah,
possible.
and knowing that from yourself must be coming really handy, obviously, and with experience over the years. Has your approach to start a new season and your program in the winter, has that changed over the years, or have you just found something that you think like this works for me? I'm going to do it this way together with your trainer.
Yeah, obviously it's been different with different trainers. So with the last few teams, we've had different trainers in the last three. I've had a different trainer in the last 3 years. So that's been different. The approach of the team, if they have a training camp in December or in January, or we may be racing then, or whatever, it really depends on that situation. But I've kind of gone with the same model of going to Spain in January and February and being based out there, and then worked around that and modified things. I guess that's the base point that I started from, and now I've just kind of tweaked it here and there. And again, it'll depend on what the coach is recommending. I do follow what the coach says, to be honest, and I think with the right testing behind that, then I think that that's the best way.
And have you noticed then over the years, maybe as well, that coaches are willing or feel that they can throw in like a trainer set for you because they know the stimulus might be better?
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of coaches now are using it, more as a tool. It's not like a feared thing, and it's good to get that bit of intensity in here and there, either a race or um, just doing a structured workout on the turbo, because it's quick and easy and it can be set, or even just doing a ramp test at home for the coach to see where you're at in certain points in the season. It's quite easy to program a ramp test for the Neo, and you can just crack on and do stuff like that at home, which you can't do on the road, and it saves you going to a lab or if you're away and things like that. So it adds another element to training, which is nice. It's a good tool to have at your disposal.
And you mentioned like you need races to be sort of like ready to race.
Yeah.
But is there one specific workout or training that you do, and maybe even on a trainer, that when you complete it and you look at the numbers and you think like, okay, I'm ready now?
um, yeah, I probably would say so. Doing some compound VO2 efforts, which I know that I've done. I've done a lot of them in the past. So I guess I kind of know where I'm at. I've done a lot of them in January, February, March, in the season as well.
Yeah,
And I'm doing these 3 minute efforts, then like 1 minute recovery, and then 3 minutes, and you string out like a 12 minute block or whatever. Um, and to do those numbers, and also to be able to do like 2 or 3 sets of the efforts, but at the right intensity, then I think you know really where you're at, if you're going to be good, or if you're going to be, you shouldn't be going to a race, or okay, you're going there but you're not the best, but you can improve, or you're thinking, well, I'm really good in this. I think that's over the years I've kind of found that that's not far off from what the results end up being. So, um,
yeah.
which is
So,
quite
so there
interesting.
would be like 3 minutes on, 1 minute off, and that three times, and that's one set.
Yes, yeah, 3 times. Yes, sometimes 4 times if I'm feeling strong, but normally 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah, and how many sets do you do then? Two or three?
Uh, Normally three. If I'm feeling brave, sometimes four, but yeah, normally three.
Yeah,
If I'm really swinging and it's not a good day, then two.
yeah. So to give it a quick match, so that's like a 27 minutes of,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
really,
I
really
guess
hard work.
yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. At VO2, and to be quite honest, if you're doing more than that, it's not
Yeah.
particularly.
So what
I
what
mean,
percentage are we looking at of sort of like of FTP or threshold, or what you're aiming for in those three
a lot.
minutes?
It's quite intense. This. Let me think back. um, as long as
Asking the
it's
tough questions here.
yeah, as long as it's over 20 minute power, then we're good, So I
Yeah.
I guess I think probably around 5% more than 5 to 10% more than 20 minute power. And again, that boils back down to how you're doing in that moment in the season. If your 20 minute powers, 410 or 420 or 430, 440, it's
Yeah.
really depending on where you are at in the season. I think, especially if it's preseason versus throwing an interval session in between races in the middle of the season.
Yeah. So if you would do a RAM test today and you would do a RAM test, say early Feb, you've got a bit of a difference in there.
Yeah, I think so. I actually did one the day after the national championships. I'm not sure why,
Day
but
after.
the day after the national championships, yeah, because I knew I was riding quite well, and my friend said, "Oh, come down and do the test at the lab at the university." So he did some lactic profiling from me when I was doing it. So it wasn't a full max ramp test. It was a step test
Yeah.
with lactic profiling, which I haven't had done for a really long time. Only ever used gas analysis, and it's quite nice to also validate the gas analysis with lactic profiling too. I know a lot of guys like our coaches use a lot of lactic profiling, and other guys are really more about the gas analysis and things like that. But yeah, it's
Can,
been a
can, can you
while.
can you sort of like explain the difference for the listeners?
Well, the gas analysis is it's analysing what you're breathing out, basically your oxygen and CO2. That's the ratio that's coming out of your lungs, and by that you can determine the fuel source as well. So it's like a never-ending kind of. You can be analysed multiple times a second, and over a ramp test or a step test, you can get really good data from it. Whereas a lactate testing is obviously from the blood lactic, and you take it every 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever. How many steps you want to take in a test. But I always find that the gas analysis is obviously quite. I'm pretty sure it's more instant, so it's more of what the body's doing at that moment, what the fuel source is, and everything. Whereas the blood lactates can take quite a while to steady as such, which means it's quite important to have a decent length step. So if you sat at 300 watts and you're at 1.5 millimoles or whatever, or something like that, and it's still actually increasing 1.7, 1.8 as the time's going by, and then yeah, it can take a while for it to level off, I think. but yeah, it was a good. Yeah, it was. I'm glad I did it after the race. Although I didn't go to the full max, it was it was hard enough. That would do.
So I say the day after National Championships, where you sort of like definitely went to the max, it must have been a tough
Yeah,
thing to do, though.
yeah. I'd already gone so far to the max the day before that I really wasn't going to go to that place again. So, so I
Was it
stopped.
a dark place?
The day before, yes, very very much. Yeah, yeah. So I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't ready for that again. The next day. I just thought we got to the end of the 450 step, and I was like, right, yeah, that's okay now. That's enough. Because my legs feel sore from yesterday.
Yeah, well, that's 450 step. I think a lot of listeners won't make that won't make that 450 step during their winter.
This was in the season. I probably would struggle to get to that step right now. If you put me on the bike right now, I'd probably suffer to get to there. I'd be in a lot more pain right now than what I was after the championship.
So, do you have like any final piece of advice for listeners who have heard you say like how you sort of like building through your off season? First of all, take that recovery, and then slowly get back into it with your strength work. Slowly increase that intensity over the months, and then your banger workout with your 3 minute efforts. Yeah. Any other last piece of advice for the everyday cyclist out there, how to get through the winter?
Yeah, I think that obviously I'm very fortunate that I can train in the daytime. It's my job, and I'm very very fortunate for that. And I know a lot of people can't do that, so I think that for them, really, and they're a bit time limited, it's making use of the Neo to really maximize the quality of the training, especially if you're time crunched, and you can do some really really good good workouts and spend 6 or 8 hours a week maximum, and still be in really really good shape. So I think that now we have Zwift for racing, and the availability of building the workouts through the workout tools, with Tacx, it's great. So I think that it's really about quality over quantity if you're time pressured. So just to enjoy, and if you're going to be racing in the summer, then right now it's time just to kick back, I think, and relax.
All right, awesome. So you enjoy that a little bit, last bit of kick back and relax before you get back into it, like you said, later November, and then next year a bit of a new adventure again, as it stands at the moment.
Yes, yeah, I'm riding with Ribble Welltite back in the UK, who I signed with last year prior to joining Qhubeka. When the team kind of came around and there was an option there, then it was, I'd obviously jump at the chance to ride at World Tour level, and it'd be nice next year to race with my brother as well. So my brother's going to do a lot more on the road next year, and hopefully, we can race together and race well together as well, which we did in the championships, and it was great fun. So fingers crossed still with Qhubeka, and I really hope that something comes off the team. I know Doug's working hard on the situation, and be a massive shame to see the team go after they do so much good in the world, basically. Yeah. So, but yeah, for the moment, it's a change of scenery, and I'm embracing the different racing. And it'd be nice to race with my brother as well.
A bit of rivalry with your brother as well, although on the same team then, or?
No, definitely not. I think that if we work together as well, then it's almost like we're gonna have 2 against 1 there. So it's the old quick step 1-2. If we can work that situation at some point, then it'd be quite nice.
It would be nice to race with your brother, but I think maybe a lot of us would also just love to see you next year again on the World Tour if Qhubeka just finds a way, hopefully, to stay in that World Tour peloton.
That's true, and I wouldn't I wouldn't miss it for the world. Really enjoyed this year with the team, and long let it continue. It's a great team, and we have some really good staff, and everyone's really nice. And it's all for a good cause, and just hope we can continue.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. All right, thanks heaps for your time, Harry. Very cool to hear all about your winter training regime, and especially that favorite workout. All the best for next season, and well, hopefully we'll see you back on the World Tour soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And as always, thank you all for listening and thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a rating and a review on iTunes. But most of all, just follow Harry's advice as well and just never stop cycling also during the winter. This was Rob Howe with Harry Tanfield of Team Qhubeka NextHash. Stay tuned for the next Turbo Talks.